Hey everybody, it's Coach Joe in PDX, and I'm excited to kick off the college football season. So let's go through it league by league and see who's going to be some of the contenders later on this year. We start with the AAC. Oh, no, we don't. Nobody cares. Let's move on. The ACC. Let's start there. Everything goes through Clemson. Until you can beat Clemson in your ACC championship game, there's just no hope, right? On the other side of the bracket for the ACC, there's a few teams that could be contenders. The first one is Pitt. Now, like Pitt last year, remember Pickett went on to the NFL, their quarterback, so the question becomes who's going to be the quarterback? We know the dude. It's Slovis from USC. He got run out of town in LA. And if you can't pass against the Pac-12, they're not known for their defenses. They're known for their explosive offenses. So if you can't cut it in USC, I'm not so sure I got hope for you in Pittsburgh. The next one's going to be the U. All right, so Super Mario left Oregon, went down to Miami. He's supposed to be rebuilding here, getting a lot of love. Be interesting to see. So they do have a lot of parts they got to rebuild, and they start off quick with some tough games. So let's figure out where the U is in a couple of weeks, and we'll see. And then the last one, of course, is Carolina football. Last year I liked them a lot. It was because of Sam Howell, the quarterback. He's gone. He's moved on, and they got a dude named Drake May. So I got to see him play last weekend, some of those soft games. And he had a 42-yard scamper. He's not a dual threat quarterback, but he can run. So, but he's got a good arm. He can hit that outside throw, the long out, and so he's looking good. I like Coach Mack too. So look out for North Carolina on the other side to face Clemson in that bracket. Next up, the Big 12. I'm going to start with Baylor. Their line is back. Their quarterback is back. They've got a lot of pieces that are there. I expect Baylor to make a run for it. Again, they got a tough game. They got BYU in 2 weeks. So week 2, BYU. We'll come back to that one. On the other side, Oklahoma, they got a new coach. So Clemson lost their defensive coordinator, Brent Venables. Remember, he went to Oklahoma, but he was in Oklahoma for like 12 years. He actually played for K-State. So he knows those teams. He knows that league. So I expect Oklahoma to really do well in that league and challenge Baylor. Oklahoma State, to me, they're a lot like Michigan State. I watch them, I root for them, I want them to win. They just don't quite get there. So hopefully those teams this year have a little better action. I'm going to move on to the independents just because I mentioned BYU. Okay, BYU, they start off with Baylor, Oregon, Utah State, and Notre Dame. That's just the beginning of their schedule. I don't know who's doing the scheduling at BYU, but I applaud you. Remember last year, I predicted them to win the Pac-12 South, and they did. They beat USC, Arizona State. They threw in Washington State from the Pac-12 North. They went 5-0, I think, they won them all against the Pac-12. BYU, I love how you guys schedule. Congratulations. It's going to be a tough road to hoe. Utah State, got to see them play last week. They're really good in the fourth quarter. They're the comeback kids because they're in great shape. They train at 6,000 feet. So Utah State, BYU, I don't even know if that's in Logan or Provo, but that's going to be a great game. I actually want to watch that one because I'll just watch the fourth quarter. We'll see who can hang around because somebody's going to be in really good shape for that one. The other independent is Notre Dame. And I got to tell you, how can you be ranked in the top 5 and be a 17-point dog in your first game? That's not top 5 material, okay? Oregon, 17-point dog to defending national champion Georgia, right? And it's in Georgia, and they're ranked 11. That makes sense. Notre Dame, I'm putting you like 12 to 15 somewhere in there, and I just don't have high hopes for you. New coach, remember Brian Kelly found out he had a southern accent, went down to LSU. So a lot of new parts in Notre Dame, and I just don't see it. I'm going to tell you right now. So that's it with the independents. The Big Ten, all roads go through Columbus. I mean, literally. Their first 5 games are at home, and 6 of their first 7, including the 7th, is against Iowa, which will be the challenge game for them. It's the only game they have in the first 7 that's challenge, and 6 of them are at home. Who's scheduling your guys' games? Clearly, it's not a BYU alum. I mean, that's just embarrassing. I don't even know how they pulled that one off. And then they go on the road and play the likes of like Rutgers and Maryland. It's not exactly a challenging game. They do have Penn State in there on the road. Okay, so what? And then they come home and finish with Michigan. Okay, so let's talk about Michigan. Harbaugh's been in Ann Arbor for 8 years. He's beat Ohio State 1 time, and that was last year at home. Now he goes on the road. Don't see it. Michigan, you're out. On the other side of the bracket for the Big Ten, Wisconsin, I didn't pay a lot of attention to them until my godson showed up on campus this week, so I am paying attention to Wisconsin. They've got a pretty soft schedule. I do think that they'll have that, and Iowa. There'll be one of those 2 teams that will challenge for the other side of the bracket on the Big Ten. Let's move on to the Mountain West. Nobody cares anything about the Mountain West except who's moving to the Pac-10. So when we get back to some news on that, I'll let you know. There's been a couple of flubs, but remember, I do these in one take. Whatever it is, go. Pac-12, Utah. Utah's going to dominate again. They're outstanding. They start week 1 at the Swamp in Florida. They're going to smoke them. You take that bet, and also I might even look at the under. Their defense is just so good. So expect Utah there. I've got Oregon on the other side. They do have a new coach, Dan Lanning, former defense coordinator for Georgia, and he's got an outstanding defensive team. Watch out for Brandon Dorless on the line to come in his own as a nose defensive tackle. Noah Sewell at linebacker will be the best of the Sewell brothers. Okay, his brother was taken like second or third by the Detroit Lions. His other brother, Nephi, was just won the championship with Utah last year for the Pac-12. So this will be the best of the best, though, with the Sewell brothers. And then they've got safeties back and corners back. So their defense is going to be really tough. And to that end, I would actually take the Ducks in those 17 points or 17 and a half points, if you can get them, for that opener in Georgia. It's not in Athens, it's in Atlanta, but still, it's in Georgia. So you got the heat, humidity, et cetera, issues to deal with. But 17 points. That game's going to be like 24-13, something like that, I'll bet you. So take the points in the Ducks. USC, new coach, of course, Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma. The problem is that their lines are trash. Okay, I'm just telling you right now, they're going to be horrible in the trenches. They got great skill guys, USC always does, but they're going to be just absolutely horrendous in the trenches. So watch some people to blow up USC. They come to Oregon State in about the first, I think in September. So I'm going to try to go to that game. Thank you, OSU, for giving me tickets once again this year. I appreciate it. Went to a couple games last year, complimented the Oregon State University Athletic Office, and appreciate that. Any other surprises in the Pac-12? OSU. I got to look at my notes real quick. Some sports writer predicted OSU to get second place in the Pac-12 North. Do your homework, bub. There is no more Pac-12 North. The top 2 teams are going to the Pac-12 championships. How cool is that, right? I wish more leagues did this. Heck, I wish the NBA did it. Just take the best teams and put them up there. You got your records and then your tiebreakers, et cetera, et cetera. Watch out. My dark horse will be Oregon State out of the Pac-12. So Utah, Oregon, then Pac-12. SEC. Okay, so obviously everything's going to roll through Bama, roll Tide once again. In November, they got that challenging game against Austin Peay. I'm not sure who's scheduling their games, but it's not somebody from BYU again. So I hate those games. I wish they would get rid of that. So that's one reason why I do like these conferences expanding. They're going to add Texas and Oklahoma, and hopefully they get rid of those games against Little Sisters of the Poor and, Duquesne or whatever. Bama could be not challenged. Bama's going to win it. Mark my words. Arkansas is in there. A&M. So last year, Alabama lost to A&M in College Station. This year, the game is in Tuscaloosa, so that'll be a great game. But I expect Bama, like, we told you not to take these dudes lightly, and you did. You lost last year. Revenge game. They're going to smoke them. Arkansas is getting a little bit of love, but A&M will be the second-place team there and get a great bowl game. They'll have a good year. On the other side of the coin, of course, you got Georgia. We talked about them. They lost a lot of pieces. I think they had like 15 or 17 dudes go to the NFL, something crazy. So they have a lot of pieces to fill, but they always have a lot of talent. It'll be interesting to see how Stetson, the quarterback, does. I expect him to get a little bit of a rough start, and let's see if he can regroup and come into his own. The other team that's getting love out of there is Kentucky. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so that's just the week 1 preview from the top to the bottom, just a one take, one size fits all. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.